And good day, everybody. It's Brother Chris again. And just like last week's show, I actually have Jillian on. What we started talking about, though, is about her driving out west from Ontario. That's Eastern Standard Time, out to Pacific Time, and that was going actually out to British Columbia. I do say thank you very much for Jillian to be actually back on, and Jillian will be more on than usual, unless we have special guests. Now, special guest, though, Gypsy Lady Eva will be back actually on, only for special guests, but Jillian will be actually on a lot more. So you guys get to hear Jillian and get to hear how punky she is. Not punky, but sorry, spunky. Yes, so again, those will be right back after this quick commercial break, and stay tuned.
Follow us here at Haunting Live, and we are honored to have a brand new co-host on our shows now. Yolanta Mary introduces people to the show and discusses different topics on the show. So we're really happy to have her here this season. So go check out our brand new episodes.
On our last episode of Divine Oracle Podcast, Driving Across Canada. And yeah, it's a good location, the rest stop. So we're going to leave the French area. We're going to drop more. We're going to go up to Sudbury and St. Joseph Island to Sault Ste. Marie. Wawa is pretty good. It's a great location. It's off the highway, but if you're now back to our show with Jillian talking about driving across Canada on the Divine Oracle Podcast.
I did stop in Winnipeg. Briefly, again, that's out of the world kind of place. You can't really describe it. It's big, has a lot of people, but it's just busy. But it's got what is it? It's got a mall. No, that's Edmonton. Gotta be careful what I say.
Yeah. So Winnipeg, though, is basically it's done up as pretty much as a circle. Is pretty much what it is, and that's how the roads are there. There's a river that goes straight through Winnipeg, which is very nice. Now, for myself though, I was in Winnipeg coming back years ago because I came actually back from British Columbia to Ontario on Greyhound. That's right when Greyhound used to be in Canada, and we stopped off in Winnipeg. Only thing I remember though is it being like a big circle, and that's how the roads were there. For myself though, I got off the bus, had an hour to kill before the next bus, but I didn't get a chance really to do much. But if you're going to travel, also across Canada on Via Rail, you do definitely stop off in Winnipeg. So, all right, what else would you say altogether?
I pretty much finished Winnipeg in like half a day, probably about 12 hours. We kind of zipped past through Manitoba, all the way through to Saskatchewan. And I, on my trip last year, I stuck to the south of Canada, so I was going through all the little towns. So most of the towns that I could name, there would be a lot of people not knowing where these towns are. Like the town of Carlisle in Saskatchewan, that's in the far south, off of Rural Road 13, and I was just kind of going in there, stopping, and then keep going. My idea was to stay off the main drag because of traffic, and to give the kids a little more of a visual for Canada. So.
Okay, all right. So technically then you went past right where the old past TV show Corner Gas was actually shot.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Now Corner Gas was a great Canadian TV show. Most people think it deals with a gas station, but no, it dealt with more than a gas station.
It dealt with people's lives.
Yeah, it was a comedy altogether, and this little clip here will actually already let you know about the music and also the intro about Corner Gas. So,
yeah. So as we continue traveling across, I was stopped in Assiniboia, and a lot of people. They're very particular in how you say it. Some people would say asinine boy, and it's like, no, it's Assiniboia. The first time when we came through and we saw the hotel, we were just like, that looks sketchy. No, thank you. We ended up sleeping in a parking lot that night because the hotel just didn't look great. On the way through back home, on the next trip home, we found a nice hotel. Not sure where I remember finding it, but I just kind of did the wag jag thing and found what I was doing. We ended up spending a half day in Assiniboia too. So
Okay, so it sounds like it's an Indigenous community.
it possibly could be.
So, what were the people like actually there?
Mostly friendly. There is a few that were
Kind of sketchy.
kind of sketchy. Yeah, you kind of didn't want to leave your car for very long. Now I have a Matrix from 2005, and so the car isn't what you call the best car out there. But even I didn't want to leave my car in some areas. It was pretty sketchy, but overall the town of it was great. I enjoyed driving through it and getting to see the sights. So they do have a riverfront that has a memorial on it. I didn't get to read the memorial, but it just had a sign, a memorial, and then it had a statue. But again, driving through. So
Yeah.
my problem was as I was rushing to get to my granny's.
That's okay. So, yeah. All right. So, whereabouts are we now? Are we in Saskatchewan? Are we out of Saskatchewan? Or whereabouts are we?
So as we continue, we spend about 12 hours driving, and we jump straight from Saskatchewan straight into Alberta, coming in towards Medicine Hat. So that's like one of the next major towns after you leave Alberta going into Saskatchewan. Medicine Hat's the next big one. And then at that point, I took Highway 3 all the way down and followed it all the way through. My next stop was Lethbridge. That's more of a industrial area. A lot of transports, a lot of trucking, a lot of industry for, I believe it's mining. I'm not sure if it's coal mining or if it's copper mining or something, but there's a lot of mining in the industry. So
That's okay. So, all right. All right. So, you were only there for how long, would you say?
maybe an hour, long enough to gas up
Okay.
and grab a quick bite to eat, bathroom break, and then off again.
All right. Well, we're talking right now. I actually put down, hopefully. All right. So, yeah, I've got down the community. So, we're going to take a quick look actually at the community and see what they say all together. So, yeah. So, I'm going to just throw this over to Jillian, and she'll let you know what Google says about Lethbridge.
Well, according to Google, it's a province in Alberta, Canada, population of about 106,000 people. It came from the fourth Alberta city to surpass 100,000 people. The nearby Canadian Rocky Mountains contribute to the city's warm summers, mild winters, and windy climate. So, you know, you can definitely see the Rocky Mountains once you start getting past the prairies of Manitoba and Saskatchewan. All you see is the Rocky Mountains in the distance, and at this point you start counting and you start going, are we there yet? You know, they look so far away and so big that you just wonder, are we there yet? We just keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to pull up the map here. So Highway 3 is what we're going to go to. Now, you go past, actually, on Highway 3, you go through Kip. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. And Alberta, though, is basically well known for agricultural. It's what it's basically well known for. Again, though, so you were saying about the Rocky Mountains, which is true, but the Rocky Mountains go within BC and also with Alberta. But the thing, though, is with Alberta, again, though, it's more well known for agricultural. There's a lot of farming out there, a lot of land, and you can. It's not like Saskatchewan, which is Saskatchewan, though, you can see for miles. Alberta, though, it does have actually hills in it, which is really nice. And I'm right now looking actually at one, though, and I don't know if Jillian stopped off in there, but
Fort McLeod.
Yes.
We did stop in there real quick. It was just a super quick gone through it.
Okay.
So.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to travel along a little bit more. Again, that's to do with Alberta directly. Now, what I would say, though, is, yes, it is closer to the borderline between Canada and the States. But you still got they got a lot more kilometers altogether away for that. Just trying to figure out what else to say about Alberta, except the only time I was out. My biggest memory from Alberta, though, was 1980, right when I was out there. I went out there to see my uncle that lived out there before he moved back here to Ontario. And also driving through at nighttime, which is one of the shorter provinces to drive through. And this was actually on the Greyhound, so yes. Now, what else? Anything else you want to say about Alberta?
Not a whole lot. I just know that once you get in, when you leave Alberta, you go into BC and you don't even know that you've hit BC. Like, it is like from one to the other. Like the Crow's Nest Pass and Cranbrook, that's all part of BC. So when you look at it and you go, oh my goodness, how did I get here? It's like, it was super quick. You leave Fort Macleod, next thing you know, you're already into BC. And, you know, you've got to go through the pass, and that brings you down through Cowley, and then Burmis and Belleville or Bellevue and Frank. Crow's Nest Pass is the main highway that goes through there. And it's very windy, very bendy, very hilly, very mountainous. They've got a few stops along the way that you can stop and actually take a look at. We ended up in Soyuz, BC. For, I would have to say, an entire day. We got there and we liked the Soyuz. That was like a really good place. Yeah. The thing is that after we left the Soyuz, we ended up in Castlegar. That's where my car decided that we needed to get a new transmission. So it was quite the travel. Where we were at the Crow's Nest Pass. It was the Eagle's Nest portion of the Crow's Nest. So they've got a lot of different names: Eagle, Falcon, the Crow's Nest. Then there was Pigeon Valley Way. It was a lot of bird-related places along the way of the mountain because it's so high up there. Yeah. And then so we did that. So it was actually Castlegar, then Soyuz, but we ended up in Castlegar, then Soyuz with the rental car. So.
That's okay. Now, for those who live actually in Kentucky, Tennessee area, now driving actually in a portion of Alberta and also British Columbia, it's kind of like driving actually up in I-75 area. It's kind of like that, though. You're high up above. It's beautiful, gorgeous views altogether, and that's what I would say about that. And I still got memories to do with my childhood actually being actually out there. I'll let you guys know one little funny story, though. Right when I was actually 5 years old in BC, we pulled off at this motel. My mother was with me, my sibling, and also my father. So what had happened, though, is my mother got out of the rental that we had, and what she did, though, is she got into the the motel room, laid on the bed, and goes, "Yahoo!" So what happened, though, is all of a sudden you get, and the person next door, this is what my parents had said, "Rider cowboy." Not realizing, though, that is actually family actually in the next unit, like the next motel room, right beside. But there was cars there and like old beat up Buicks and also old beat up punch buggies that were pretty much actually ready to be pushed over the cliffs. Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. Now, all right, so we've been talking about British Columbia. Now, right when you hit British Columbia, right when I look at the map, though, it shows Highway 1. Were you still on Highway 1, or were you actually on?
I was in the south, so I was coming in Highway 3 into Hope, and then down in. So I was in the lower area of Highway 3, coming north to Hope, which ties into Highway 1, Trans-Canada Highway. So there isn't a whole lot between Highway 3 and Trans-Canada. as the past because it's all a bunch of little towns, but they don't connect. So if you get stuck in a small town, you got to backtrack to go around, to go up and around. So it's best in that case to not get lost. Just follow the main highway or the main road to get where you need to go. Hope is a place that we actually stopped into, and they actually have a tourist section. There's a community center there that has a really cool cafe there. We stopped in there, got some coffee and hot chocolate and stuff like that. They actually are one of the first green tourist sections where they have a all solar for some of their buildings, and they also have a biodegradable waste for their bathrooms and showers and everything, and it goes out into their watershed in the back. But by the time it hits the creek bed out in the back, it's already been filtered and it's been purified and goes back into the system. So, and they use recycled water and whatnot. So they're a very green facility. Okay. And it works.
That's great to hear, especially us Canadians. So we were the very first place to start with the blue box, and before the States, actually, we were the very first country in North America to start with recycling. So that's pretty good to hear, especially for there.
Yeah, Hope is very much into recycling everything. Even their metals, they don't throw them out. They'll recycle them into statues and art pieces that line the highways and that. And oh yeah, it's Hope. I couldn't talk enough about Hope. It's fishing is great in Hope too, by the way, for those fishers. They've got a really good stream that runs. They do get salmon out there. They do have pike and bait and bass and all the other fish that is across Canada.
Yeah.
Just they look different.
All right, so we're traveling along the Trans-Canada Highway, which is well known for Highway 1. It goes actually from Vancouver across Canada, well known. But you started actually on Highway 3 and then decided to pop actually onto Highway 1.
Yeah, it's the only way to go.
Now the thing though is, I'm looking actually at the map though, and you've got Surrey, you got Richmond, you got downtown Victoria, you got that whole area. Now, right when you were actually on, Highway 1, to do the bridge cross, which way did you guys go? Did you guys go up around, or did you guys go down under, or did you guys cross the bridge by any chance?
We actually came in, I think it was on 99. So we didn't really go any further because we were coming in to go to the ferry docking.
Okay.
To Tsawwassen Bay.
Okay.
Tsawwassen. So basically we came in off the 99, or came in and then cut across. So we were only on Highway 1 for a little bit, and then we did like the cut across because I didn't want to go all the way into Surrey and then backtrack. So I just kind of checked my map, and we went through Abbotsford and then around on Highway 13, and then came back in around to 99 and then south to Tsawwassen Bay, where we grabbed the ferry across to Schwartz Bay.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we're actually now down at the ferry loading area, which is well known, and it's beautiful ferries altogether. The ferries, though, are not normal ferries, which is what we were discussing underneath our last podcast. The ferries, though, can go from 3 to 4 different layers of vehicles being parked actually on. There's enough space on there. The ferry crossing, though, is roughly an hour to 2 hours for crossing from
Tsawwassen to anywhere on the other side on the island.
Yeah.
They have 6 ferry stations, so they always have boats coming and going. There's boats every hour on the hour in peak season, and they start at 6 a.m. and they go until 10 p.m.
Okay.
So the last boat is at 10, and anybody who gets into the boating area for the ferry, if they get in behind the toll boxes before they close the toll at 10 o'clock, you're guaranteed on that ferry. The last ferry of the night, you're guaranteed to get on it. They don't leave anybody behind. The last time I got there, I missed the ferry by 5 minutes. I missed them closing it by 5 minutes. I had to wait until 6 a.m. the next morning. I ended up sleeping in a Tim Hortons parking lot with the 2 kids. last year, about 10 minutes away. And we just wanted to get on the ferry and go. We were so close, but so far away. And we ended up leaving at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I got about 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And while the kids were still sleeping, I just drove up to the ferry, and there was already a huge lineup for the 6 a.m. They couldn't guarantee that I was getting the 6 a.m. ferry across. I was about $81 for the three of us in the car across. So the ferry rates are actually not too expensive because it's a consistent, it's a bus for your car to go into and from the island. So they're very consistent, and sometimes they leave a little bit later. So if you get there a little bit later, you might catch the ferry that should have left but didn't leave. So you might get on that ferry. But they have 3 ferries that go to Schwartz Bay. So they're, you're passing ferries right, left, and center. So it's pretty busy.
Yeah. Now, with this ferry, though, you actually can, it all depends on right where you park, right where you're parking. If it's open, though, which is the sides, though, you can actually stay in your car.
Yep. You can stay on deck with your car.
Now, if you guys are in a closed-off area, they recommend you to get out of your vehicle and go up top. Up top, though, that they have a restaurant there, like a little cafe restaurant. They also have the washrooms there, and you can walk around. Unfortunately, it's not like a cruise ship ferry, but it's kind of like that size of it.
They've got an additional 3 floors above the parking. So you've got your restaurant floor, you've got your shopping floor, you've got your kid floor or family floor. The very top is where everybody goes with their dogs or their pets, because they're not allowed to be on the other 2 floors unless they're seeing eye dogs or service animals. Yeah. Now, because we all love animals so much, we would end up on the top floor with all the animals, and we would just be like, oh my god, puppy, and just keep going around. And everybody was welcoming, and none of the animals were growling or barking like aggressively. It was more of a very happy to see you manner. So everybody who was getting on the ferry, all their animals were like well behaved and socialized and everything. They recommend that if you have an animal that is more of aggressive, make sure you have a face mask for it or a muzzle, and keep it separated from everybody else, or leave it in the car. Speaking of cars, they actually tell you to not turn on your beepers. They tell you not to alarm your cars for the sake that the vibrations of the ship will cause every car alarm to go off, and then you'll have hundreds of people going downstairs hitting the beepers. So they just say when you lock the car, just lock the car internally and walk away from the car. It's safe. No one's going to get to it because they're locked away, and nobody's allowed on the floor below deck once the ship leaves the dockway.
Yeah.
If you leave an animal down there, just let a service member know or a staff member know that your window is cracked. They might hear a bark down there, and they'll let you know. If they hear a lot of barking, they'll try and come. They'll use your license plate over the radio, and they'll say, hey, intercom, and say, hey, we've got, a barking dog, needs to go look at your dog.
Now, with the open area, though, is also those, you are allowed to leave your vehicle. You're allowed to go back down to it.
Yeah, as long as it's an open deck.
Yeah, as long as it's an open deck altogether. It's worth checking out. So if you are driving across from Ontario all the way out to British Columbia, I'm sorry about the other provinces that are past Ontario, but basically those, if you're driving from Ontario actually out, how much roughly are you looking at about forking out for gas?
About $1,000.
Okay.
Depending, is this okay?
Give or take.
Let me rephrase that. Depending on your car, fuel efficiency, and everything, you could be about $1,000. I was about $800 one way because it's about 10 tanks on a car, and I was getting about 450 to 500 kilometers a tank. And it was roughly $50 to $60 to fill. So I managed to make it with a decent amount and not sleeping at hotels and sleeping in the car and at rest stops. You saved actually quite a bit of money. Shopping before you leave, having a cooler, that can save you money there too. So essentially the only money that you're using is gas money.
Yeah.
And, if you're stopping and you're for museums or doing a family thing, and your expenditures that way, that's another aspect of it. But
yeah. Now, actually, as is this recording, though that we are doing, Jillian's mother is going to be flying actually out of our region today, and she's going to be flying. Is it to Vancouver?
Yes, Vancouver to the
Yeah.
airport.
Yeah, and then she's getting a car rental. She's going to be going across. So for those though that have been listening to the podcast altogether, type in this word, which is safe travel, so we know exactly how much you've listened to this podcast. Again, though, the word is safe travel. We'd love to hear from you guys, and that's the key word for today. So type that in, and yeah. So again, those if you have any questions whatsoever, Jillian's information really easy. Send to Divine Oracle Podcast at Gmail. Our email is divineoraclereadings@gmail.com. That way I can actually send some stuff to Jill. And Jillian, I'm pretty sure, though, that you wouldn't hesitate to be talking to the people.
Yeah, if they have questions, I have answers. If, they're inclined to ask, I'm inclined to answer.
So, but again, though, since there is stuff going actually on right now, stay Canada, travel Canada.
Spend in Canada,
Yeah.
buy Canadian,
Yeah.
from Canadians.
Yes, it's always best off to travel. Travel to locations though that you might not travel to altogether, and stay local. So from us to you guys, we hope you guys enjoy your day. Again, the safe word though is safe travel, and you guys have an awesome day. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.